Yeah, man.
Yeah.
You were beating the shit out of people in this.
Yeah, well, it's a requirement. I mean, this is the typical genre movie, you know. The guy that overcomes the bad guy and saves the people that need saving, and it's got the key ingredients for what you expect if you're going to go see this type of film. So.
And Bishop, I mean, you've obviously done Transport a couple times. You've done Crank. What was it about Bishop that you wanted to come back for?
I like the intellectual side of Bishop, of how he orchestrates these hits. How he can get in and get out without a trace. It's the MacGyver type sort of brain coming together, and I really like the composure of what Bishop has and his real sort of confidence. I think it's great to play that. And on this occasion, there's a particular girl, Gina, played by Jessica Alba, that gets to eke out a side of Bishop that we've never seen. This compassionate guy that really, he goes against all of his, all of what he protects. A side of him, he lets down his sort of his soft side in order to do something good for somebody. And he doesn't have a choice. And so I think that's an element that we haven't sort of explored with Bishop, and certainly not in the last one anyway.
Yeah, well, you don't do a lot of romance in your movies, really.
No.
But you could do worse than Jessica.
Yeah, I could do a lot worse.
Was that an important part of bringing her in, the girlfriend in? Was that talked about early on?
Well, look, the script was always... In fact, I'll tell you how it was. The original script had much more of a, would you say, a damsel in distress type of vibe going on with the Gina character. She was a lot different. And Jessica was key to her being the character that she ends up on the screen today. She had all of this backstory that she wanted in there, and the fact that she was an ex-military, had all these ex-military skills. This was all from Jessica, so my tips to her for all of these things that she wanted to do.
Yeah, and she's like fighting them off almost as much as you are.
She's bashing them better than I do.
Yeah, dude.
Look at that.
I gotta say though,
some tips.
That pool scene, you don't see much of a pool sucking a guy down into the street. That is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. How did you approach that? Is that pool like? That would be scary. I wouldn't want to be near that pool.
A cantilevered pool on the top of a building. Yeah.
Yes.
It's you know what, the hardest part is trying to create the whirlpool of how it goes. It was written in the script this way, and I thought it was such an ingenious hit. You never know how you're going to execute it when you read it. How are we going to pull this off? The finished product is what it is.
You've done the action thing, but not like this.
Yeah.
What was it like stepping in? And you're throwing punches. You're getting wild in this. What was it like?
I did a lot of hand-to-hand combat and this type of action stuff in a TV show I did with James Cameron called Dark Angel. And I really haven't been able to do it since then. And it was super fun. It was why I wanted to do it, because it is what I love to do the most. I love to do action. I was trained basically as a stunt person for that show, and I never really I don't get to use that tool. And so I know Jason does his own stunts, and I knew when I would, come and do this movie that I would be able to get physical and it was kind of intimidating, I have to admit, because the first fight sequence when Jason's like sitting behind the monitor, I was like, oh, is he gonna think I suck, or I'm too, weak, or my punches don't look good? And so I did some Krav Maga fighting training prior to going to Thailand, just to prepare myself a bit. And I wanted the fighting to look kind of brutal and not so choreographed, and more kind of instinctual.
Yeah, it looks kind of dirty. I mean, in a good way.
I like that brutal kind of dirty fighting. I think it's fun to watch as well.
Definitely fun to do, I'm sure.
And it is fun to do, yeah, except for when you don't duck your head and you get...
Did you have any, like, were there any
Yeah,
injuries?
you get bruised up, you get a couple cuts, yeah. You
I
get
love
a few,
that.
you get knocked around a little bit.
I love that. You're like, yeah, you get a couple,
it's,
maybe.
It's part of the deal, yeah.
When working with Jason, you guys have a fun little chemistry. That's kind of unique. Not a lot of women get to do that with Jason. He doesn't do a lot of these kinds of romantic roles. What was that like?
Well, I think in these type of genre films, there isn't a lot of love story that's usually there, and he wanted, that was a big part of this story, and that's kind of what drives it forward. So it was important that my character is intelligent, she has a military background, she has a real purpose, she's a social worker, and she has depth. She's not just some like random girl who needs to be saved, because if he's really gonna fall for a girl, she's gotta have the type of depth that could rise to his level of discipline, and he's a good guy. I mean, he is a good person, even though he's a brutal assassin. he's an assassin with a heart of gold.
Well, speaking of heart of gold, you do a lot for charities. You that's kind of been something I've noticed about you, and this character does that. Did you bring any of you yourself into Jaina?
No, I mean, I have done a lot of different social work, and I embedded, a social aspect into my business model for my company, and it is important to give back. I did know actually quite a bit about trafficking prior to going to Thailand and understanding just how awful it is and in this part of the world and how prevalent it is. So I thought it was a great kind of issue to highlight because it matters and it is going on.